the global news on Atlantic Television Network. First, the headlines. Residents invade loot palliative warehouse in Bayelsa State. Police arrest the cultists and recover arms in Delta State. President Tinubu tasks ministers on hard work dedication. NSE kicks as discourse move to hike electricity tariff. U.S. judge sets March 4 for historic Trump trial. Joe Boy tackles Burna Boy over controversial statement. Manuel Neuer returns to training with Bayern Munich.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds. I am the best.
Thank you for staying with us. Here is a bulletin in full. Residents of Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, have reportedly invaded and looted a warehouse where palliatives are kept. The warehouse, located in Pansia suburb of the state capital, is where the 2022 flood palliative were stored. However, it was not confirmed whether the subsidy palliative provided by President Bola Tinubu to state to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal are among the items looted by the hungry residents. By confirming the invasion of the warehouse, the Bayelsa State Emergency Management Agency said the incident occurred almost an hour after the Director General Walamam Igrubia, alongside some BISEMA personnel, left the warehouse premises, and adding that during the 2022 flood in the state, the agency used the warehouse to store food items. BISEMA, in the statement, condemns the action of the yet-to-be-identified persons that invaded the premises of a warehouse and also condemns the attempt to politicize the incident by opposition elements in the state. The House of Representatives members from Bayelsa State have condemned the killings and indiscriminate arrest and detention of Opunembe Basambiri youths by the Nigerian police in Bayelsa State. The caucus says the invasion of Opunembe Basambiri on the 12th of August 2023 by men of the Nigerian police force was in a Gestapo fashion, not noting that the attack was politically motivated and targeted at destroying the peace and prosperity brought by the administration of His Excellency Senator Doyediri to Bayelsa State, which is currently enjoyed by all Bayelsans. The caucus, led by Honorable Mari Ebikake, representing Brass Nembe Ijo Federal Constituency of the state, however, commended the governor of the state for his efforts in diluting the tension in the affected communities.
The immediate response of the Bayelsa state government, led by His Excellency Senator Doyediri, to the crisis and the effort to dilute the tension in the affected community. The raid caused death of innocent citizens and indiscriminate arrest and detention of scores of Opunembe Basambiri youths who are presently in the custody of the Nigerian police at Abuja. May we also remind the IGP, Inspector General of Police, that a sting operation of such nature carried out in total disregard of existing protocols with regards to the role of the executive governor as the chief security officer of the state within his domain in the clear absence of imminent threat to national security is not only a threat to our democracy, but raises questions of the presence of the Joint Security Task Force stationed in the community over the years. We employ the Commission of Inquiry set up in the aftermath of the incident to determine the root cause of the crisis and proffer a permanent solution to these unfortunate incidents in Opunembe Basambiri. We want to use this opportunity to call on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to, as a matter of urgency, empanel a high-powered commission of inquiry on the immediate and remote causes, including the role of the Nigerian police, particularly the SWAT department, their source of funding, and other individuals who played roles in the armed invasion to ensure the perpetrators are fished out and made to face the wrath of the law. This will not only act as deterrent, but also send a message to individuals with selfish agenda not to tarnish the image of your government and the democratic reputation you have brought into governance. We also want to use this medium to offer our heartfelt condolences to the families of those killed in the unfortunate incident and call all sons and daughters of Nembe Kingdom to please remain calm and allow peace to reign in the kingdom.
The lawmakers called for the setting up of a commission of inquiry to determine the root cause of the crisis and the actions of the police special forces deployed to the state by the IGP and prefer a permanent solution to these unfortunate incidents. Operatives of the Delta State Command Decoy Squad have arrested a notorious cultist Godfrey Tietie, popularly called Don Baby, who has been terrorizing Ogbara community and its environs in Ethiopia West local government area of the state. The 40-year-old suspect was arrested at Ogorode Road by Texaco in Sapele during a covert operation by the police. The police also recovered from the suspect a locally made revolver pistol. The Delta State Police Command, led by CP Wale Abbas, confirmed the reports in a statement signed by the Police Public Relations Officer DSP Bright Edafi. The police image maker said the investigation revealed that the suspect is a member of IA confraternity and is also suspected to be a gun runner who supplies guns to cultists in Sapele, Ogara, and environs. In the meantime, police surveillance team from Ekpan Division in Uvie local government area of Delta State have recovered one AK-47 rifle, one magazine lodged with 7 rounds of 7.62 mm ammunition, one English pump action gun with 3 live cartridges and 2 cut-to-size double-barrel gun in a sack abandoned in an uncompleted building in Alakja community, Udu local government area of Delta State. The recovered items were abandoned by some criminal elements operating within Wari, Udu, Koko, and approximate environs on Wednesday. It was learned that the police trailed the criminals into their hideout at Alakja Grammar School in Alakja Town, Udu local government area. The command confirmed the report in a statement signed by the Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Bright Edafe. The police image maker said the hoodlums fled the scene upon sighting the police. He noted that the items were recovered during the search of the sack bag, adding that efforts are on to top gear to identify and arrest the said hoodlum. Governor Alex Oti of Abia State has provided insight on why his administration decided to engage the private sector in waste management. The governor, who spoke through his senior special assistant on due process, Dr. Olebube Chukwu, explained that the approach was aimed at establishing a highly efficient waste management system from Abia. Oti had, during his inaugural speech on May 29, declared state of emergency on waste, which hitherto had literally taken over some roads in parts of the state, especially in Aba and Omahia. While fielding questions from newsmen in Omahia, the governor's aide explained that integrating the private sector into building a sustainable waste management system was driven by the vision of creating a cleaner and healthier Abia. It outlined a phased approach to engage private sector participants, saying that the first phase has been successfully completed as bidders have emerged. He further identified that other gains of private sector participation in waste management include improving public waste areas, creating job opportunities, boosting the state's economy, and improvement in the cleanliness of the state. Governor Hope Uzodinma, an APC governorship candidate in the November 11, 2023 election in Imo State, says he is confident that his achievements in the last 3.5 years will secure his re-election ambition on November 11. Uzodinma stated this during the second edition of the Olu Zone Development Forum Summit 2023 held at the Inquiry local government area of Imo State. The forum, an apolitical and non-partisan organization and stakeholders and leaders of Imo West Sanitary District Extraction, also known as Olu Zone, aims primarily to address issues that affect the development, progress, peace, and unity of Olu Zone. According to the governor, his administration in the last 3 years has fulfilled and even surpassed all its campaign promises, and even given the opportunity to lead the state for a second term, he will do better and exceed the expectations of Imo indigenes. Participants at the summit moved a motion for the adoption and endorsement of the governor, who is the All Progressive Congress, as their sole candidate for the November 11 governorship election. The chairman of the Imo Elders Council, Cletus Ilomoanya, said the aim of the summit was to bring together well-meaning Olu indigenes to discuss the development of the zone, especially as it regards unity, peace, and security. He said the objective also includes charting the course for the zone in the election. Labour Party has again raised alarm over an attack on its party secretariat in Owerri, the Imo State capital, by suspected thugs and policemen allegedly acting at the behest of the state government. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Obiora Ifo, raised the alarm on Monday. According to him, during the early hours of today, Monday, 28 August, the Imo State Secretariat of the Labour Party was once more being attacked by the police and thugs allegedly on the directives of the state government. He explained that the state chairman of the Labour Party, Kalistus Ihejagwa, had earlier sent an SOS to the public pleading with Nigerians to come to the aid of the party, which at the time was at the mercy of the attackers, who comprised of over 100 thugs and the accompanying men of the police force. Ifo further explained that when the state chairman confronted the assailants, they said they were under directives by the state government to pull down Peter Obi and Senator Athan's billboards, but particularly that of Obi. The party recorded that earlier last week, the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi led a crowd of party faithful and supporters, including Abia State Governor Dr. Alex Oti and Labour Party members of the National Assembly, to formally inaugurate the governorship campaign of its candidate, Senator Athan Achonu. The Lagos State government has directed all schools below the tertiary level to resume on Monday, 4th September 2023, in compliance with the 2023-2024 harmonized academic school calendar as approved by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic Education. Director General of the Office of Education and Quality Assurance, Mrs. Biola Seriki Ayeni, made this known during an interview held in her office at the Secretariat at Lausa on Monday. She urged all schools to ensure strict compliance with the resumption date for the delivery of quality and sustainable education in Lagos State. She also enjoined preparators and school administrators to ensure strict compliance with the Lagos State safeguarding and child protection policy, stressing that there must be full compliance with all safety protocols on some premises for a safe learning environment, as the state government remains committed to the delivery of quality education. Sariki Ayani informed the general public, especially school management and parents, to download the school academic calendar and more details. For more details, Ebony State Commissioner for Aviation and Technology, Ngozi Obichukwu, says there is no sit-at-home order in Ebony State that could prevent or affect airport activities and flight movement in the state. Obichukwu made the claims while speaking to newsmen at the Chuba Okadibos Airport, Onueke, Iza, South Local Government area of Ebony State. She said the state government, led by Governor Francis Wifuru, has provided adequate security in the airport to ensure the protection of all travelers in the state. The commissioner also announced the operation of foreign airlines at the airport, adding that Ebony State is the safest state for travelers. She said the Chuba Okadibos Airport is posing threats to other airports in the Southeast region due to its strategic significance and proximity to Cameroon and the trans-Saharan borders. The Benue State Emergency Management Agency has urged residents of the state, particularly those residing in flood-prone areas, to vacate. Acting Executive Secretary Sir James Andoka Lopu, who gave the warning in a statement issued on Monday by Tefa Anna, principal media aide, said the government followed the release of water from the development followed the release of water from the Lado Dam of Cameroon over River Benue. He said the agency has embarked on a sensitization and awareness campaign on the need for people in at least 22 local government areas living around the banks of River Benue to be on alert. James Lapu further called on the residents to move to higher grounds for safety, saying public schools have been designated for them. The BSEMA boss identified some flood-prone areas within Makurdi, the state capital, to include Achusa, Idaye, Urukum Market, Genabe Industrial Layers, the Mekwe, Wadata Market, Rice Mill in Ongun, Agbanhoga, Judges, Quarters, and Giado Villa. Gombe State Emergency Management Agency says the palliatives distributed by the state government were not based on political considerations. Abdullahi, the Executive Secretary of SEMA, who also is the chairman of the committee in charge of the distribution of the palliative, said this in an interview with newsmen in Gombe State. The summer boss was reacting to allegations that the palliatives were distributed based on political consideration and that only members of the All Progressive Congress in the state received it. Residents said the palliatives were distributed by APC executives at the ward level to their members, hence members of other opposition parties were shut out from the distribution. While responding, Abdullahi said the palliatives were meant for Gombe people and not for members of the All Progressive Congress, and as such were distributed fairly to the most vulnerable in the state. Governor Abdullahi Suley of Nasarawa State has closed his defense in a petition filed against him by the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, David Ombugado, in the March 2023 governorship election. Mubarak Adekilekun, the Governor's Council, made an application to the effect during the sitting of the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal in the Lafia, the state capital. Governor Suley, through his council, called 21 witnesses who testified in his support before the tribunal and applied to close his defense. Ishaka Mudi Diko, INEC lead counsel Matthew Boka for APC, and the PDP lead counsel Jibrin Samuel Okutekwa did not object to the application. The chairman of the tribunal, Justice Ezekiel Ajayi, while ruling on the application, granted the governor's prayers, as 7 more witnesses testified in support of Governor Abdullahi Suley, submitting that the votes of APC were shortchanged during a collation in their various wards. Chairman of the tribunal, Justice Ezekiel Ajayi, adjourned the hearing till Wednesday to Thursday next week for APC to open its defense. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund says it has disbursed the sum of 550 million naira to the Kaduna State College of Education, Gidanwaya, for the purpose of addressing insecurity in the institution. Executive Secretary of TED Fund, Architect Sonny Echono, disclosed this on Monday when a Kaduna State government delegation led by the state's governor, Senator Basani, paid him a courtesy visit at the fund's headquarters in Abuja. Echono, who noted that the disbursement was beyond the normal allocations, disclosed that the fund also disbursed 500 million naira to Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, for the completion of one project, in addition to making it a center of excellence. According to him, the sum amount was also given to Kaduna State University to complete some projects in its Kafanchan campus, and adding that the fund will expedite action to complete some projects in the university which earlier had challenges. Such fund boss assured the state government that one of the public tertiary institutions in the state will benefit from TED Fund special high impact intervention in 2024. After the cycle of 6 years since the state last benefited, he further pledged to look into the appeal lodged by the state governor to assist the Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic Zaria in expanding its programs through the building of the Faculty of Agriculture. The Zamfara State Chapter of Nigeria Medical Association has issued a 1-week ultimatum to the state government to settle 4-month salary arrears of 17 medical doctors, among other practitioners at the Yarima Bakura Specialist Hospital, Gusau, or face industrial action. The state NMA chairman, Dr. Sanusi Bello, who addressed journalists on Monday in Gusau, the state capital, also cited the July 2023 salaries of medical doctors at the hospital and 8 months allowances to visiting consultants and professors, which resulted in the withdrawal of services of some of the consultants. Bello said the association had resolved to issue a 1-week ultimatum to the government of Zamfara State to address the demands. He added that the NMA in Zamfara would proceed on to an indefinite strike action from Monday, September 4, 2023, if the government failed to address their demands. The NMA chairman warned that the measure would lead to a total closure of all hospitals, including federal hospitals, state hospitals, and private hospitals, in addition to the withdrawal of all medical and dental services by all medical doctors in Zamfara State. The NMA called on the government to give priority to the welfare of the medical workers to avoid a brain drain. The Federal Capital Territory Commandant of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has arrested 19 scavengers and other miscreants for allegedly vandalizing critical national assets and infrastructure in the nation's capital, Abuja. FCT and SCDC Commandant Olushola Odumoshu disclosed this on Monday while parading the suspects at the command headquarters in Abuja. According to him, the suspects are mainly scavengers, popularly known as Baban Bola. Among residents, the suspects include 46-year-old John Ahmed from Nasarawa State, Abba Musa, 26, Kano State, Jackie Ikekwe, 25, Rivers State, amongst others. The commandant noted that these intensified measures serve the dual purpose of deterring the potential criminals and ensuring the apprehension of those responsible for unlawful activities. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after the break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
All right, welcome back to the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Here is the rest of our stories. Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria has accused the Minister of Arts, Culture and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa, of serving as minister while undertaking the one-year mandatory National Youth Service Corps scheme. The group urged the NYSC to compel Musawa to focus on either her National Youth Service or the ministerial appointments. While reacting to this on Atlantic Television Network open conversation, a political analyst, Mr. Frank Enawaji, cited that Hannatu Musawa's response over her ministerial appointment while as a copper at the NYSC is inappropriate and a national blunder.
And to kill the only surviving program of the federal government of Nigeria that has stood the test of time. I stand to be corrected. This is the only program of the federal government of Nigeria that is going to 50 years. This 50 years of its existence. No other program of Nigerian government that existed like NYSC. And this is another way, another subtle way, I call it subtle way, to scuttle this program that Nigerian youths who are in the school, who have this, do you know the importance of this program? I knew how school to wear the uniform.
Mr. Frank Enawaji further called on President Tinubu and the NYSC authority to ensure a proper address to the issue.
Important issue. Certificate that is recognized by the Nigerian government, by corporate organization, that if you want to gain employment and you say you are a graduate, it gives you serious recommendation for you to be employed. And today somebody, because of political influence and interference, will tell Nigerians that she doesn't need NYSC to be a minister. For crying out loud, please, this is an abuse of power. This is an effort to kill NYSC in Nigeria. When in Nigeria, our political leaders are the one trying to tell us that laws do not exist in Nigeria. And that's why they want to tell us that nothing is working in Nigeria. And if somebody appointed a minister who should have a certificate as one of our requirements, instead of Nigeria, she can be a copper. I mean, she can be a service minister without NYSC certificate. Why you have gone to school, then something is wrong in this country. And I want to say this without missing word. President Tinubu should also stand up and say something on this matter, because Adosun, former Minister of Finance, resigned her appointment because of the saga of, not that she was not a graduate of reputable university in the world, but because of NYSC certificate, she resigned her appointment. So I don't see also what should make Nigerians to keep quiet. Because the more you keep quiet, evil will kill everything.
Service Commission has reiterated retired four Deputy Inspectors General of Police Ikechukwu Ani, Head Press and Public Relations, in a statement named the retired senior officers as DIGs Dan Malam Mohammed, Moses Ambakina, Jitibo Hafiz, Mohammed Inuwa, and Adeleke Adeyenka Bode. It said the Commission, having waited for ample time with no such application from any of them, took the decision to compulsorily retire them to uphold discipline, which is the bedrock of the force, and to discourage statute reversal, which is inherently inimical to the exercise of authority by the Inspector General. According to the statement from the former DIGs, have been mandated to immediately proceed on compulsory retirement with effect from Friday, 25th August 2023, adding that the Commission appreciates their immense contributions and efforts towards peace and security of the country. Similarly, the Commission also approved the appointment of 4 Assistant Inspectors General of Police to the rank of Deputy Inspectors General of Police, which would be subject to ratification by the Board of Commission to replace the retired DIGs. The newly appointed DIGs include Ibrahim Sani Kaoje, Daniel Sokari, Pedro Ayuba Ekbeji, and Usman Nagogo, who are without pending disciplinary matters and or without any serious medical conditions and health impairments, were drawn from the same respective geopolitical regions of the retired ones. The Commission, while congratulating the new DIGs for their elevation, expressed hope that their appointments will add value and greater vigor to the efforts of the Nigerian police in delivering on its mandate. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the February 25, 2023 election, Peter Obi, has refuted speculations that he sponsored the burial of the father of journalist Rufai Oseni. Obi said the refutal became necessary in the light of speculations by mischievous persons that he sponsored the burial of the journalist's father to gain favorable mention. In a statement by his media office on Monday, Obi expressed disgust at attempts by persons he described as sponsored blackmailers whom he said were bent on linking him with negative things in a bid to tarnish his hard-earned reputation. He asked such persons to perish such thoughts and redirect their energy towards raising a better Nigeria. The former Anambra State governor said he needed to clarify issues, especially when a third party was involved. Obi further explained that he always honors invitations to social events like birthday celebrations or funerals, and this is something people have come to know. The Minister of State for Environment, Dr. Isiaka Salako, believes the opening of Cameroon's Latgo Dam will not cause as much flooding as it did last year. Nigeria's neighbors days ago opened the dam with the government and agencies placing communities on red alert. But the newsmen on Monday, while discussing with newsmen on Monday, Dr. Salako said that there has been an approach to building another dam in Adamawa State so it can hold off the water from the Cameroon dam. He said the ministry is aware and adding that it is not a sudden opening. He said the management of the opening of the dam is going to cause a less severe burden than it envisaged compared to 2022. His comment comes after the Ministry of Foreign Affairs alerted the National Emergency Management Agency over impending flooding along the River Benue Basin. National Emergency Management Agency has received an alert over imminent flooding on the banks of River Benue. The alert was issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a letter dated August 21st. The letter, which was signed by Omar Salisu, the ministry's Director of African Affairs, said the Cameroonian government plans to open the floodgates of the Latgo Dam on the Benue River in days ahead. While reacting on Atlantic Television Network blowout, an environmental expert, Dr. Roland Douglas, expressed worries at the federal and state government's reluctant attitude over flood situations in the country.
2022, we had no floodgate of Cameroon coming into Nigeria. It was just the rainfall. And apparently that also has to do with our drainages being blocked, buildings being, occupying spaces where water naturally has to flow. Now, Cameroon opening their floodgate is going to be a disaster that will be unimaginable. And I'm worried that every time such things happen, our government, rather than being proactive, are always being reactive. And as at that time they are going to be reacting, we would have lost lives, lost farmlands, lost properties. And we have the resources and we have the technology to set up these precautionary mitigative steps. So it baffles me why we should be on this same narrative year in, year out. In fact, we are yet to fully recover from the 2022 flooding itself. There are still some areas that are, at this moment, have massive erosion as if it was being excavated. And all we were doing was just busy talking and visiting. But right now, we are challenged with such a way that we can't avoid it. And it baffles me that this federal government, the state government, the local government are not showing that practical steps to mitigate this natural disaster that we cannot run away from. And so, thank God Cameroon is telling us, assuming they behave the way we Nigerians behave, they just open it up and then let it be, because they have taken steps, because they've already seen what is going to happen with this consistent rainfall that is coming on.
He also solicits for appropriate and timely response against the current predictions and flood forecast by stakeholders.
Time the federal government stop talking and begin to act. We've got the resources. Evacuate the communities that I know are going to be highly impacted to, high hill areas. Provide the temporary makeshift tents for them, and then begin to engage a lot of the critical stakeholders in the medical aspect, in the environmental aspect, and even in security as well, so that we can reduce this impact that we know is going to be very enormous. And so for me, federal government, it's time they begin to work rather than talking. And it shouldn't just be NEMA itself alone. It should be a conglomerate of the local government, the state government, and of course the federal government, where you have both Ministry of Works, Ministry of Environment, and NEMA itself to work together. And then of course the National Orientation Agency should now go on a very high, intense awareness and sensitization to all these communities that have been identified that are going to be negatively impacted, so that those people can begin to take temporary precautionary measures before they now start, getting consumed by this flood that is coming in.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to act urgently to grow the economy, harness the human capital of the nation's youth population, ensure food security and healthcare development to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians. This was disclosed during the inaugural council meeting, where he rolled out the roadmap for the economy going forward and urged the new Federal Executive Council members to evolve developmental targets along the 8 priority areas of his renewed hope administration. The council also examined the president's 8-point agenda, including national security, economy, agriculture, power, oil and gas, transportation, education, healthcare, digital economy, women empowerment, and judicial reform, among others.
The expectation is high, and there's a tough time right now. We must work hard, commit ourselves, and create a buoyant economy that will serve every Nigerian. Every Nigerian. We have from unemployment that is a level that is not acceptable. We are threatened by climate changes. You still have underemployment. But to turn things around, you have been selected to perform your utmost best. The policy agenda will be set to reform the economy to deliver sustainable and inclusive growth, strengthen national security for peace and prosperity. Without security, there can be no investment. We must unlock the energy and natural resources of this country. We must start to produce for ourselves, dig ourselves out of the hole, focus on education, healthcare, make social investment that is essential for the development of our people. Our priority areas are defined in our economic programs. Every area is a priority, and you belong in the driver's position to realize and make that priority a fulfilling promise to the entire nation and the continent of Africa.
While briefing State House correspondents after the meeting, the ministers who were led by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, unanimously assured that they are inspired by the president's dispositions and the impact of government will soon be evident across the entire nation.
Examined the president's 8-point agenda, his 8 priority areas for moving the Nigerian economy forward and for delivering to Nigerians. And those are basically food security, ending poverty, economic growth and job creation, access to capital, particularly consumer credit, inclusivity in all its dimensions, particularly as regards youth and women, improving security, improving the playing field on which people and particularly companies operate, rule of law, and of course, fighting corruption.
So basically, that is it. We are all fired up as cabinet members who have made our commitments to Mr. President. And I'm sure he's equally pleased with the kind of commitments that we have laid out today. And God willing, we should be able to achieve those targets within the shortest possible time. But one thing I must say is food security is what this administration of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has spelled out to do, is to make sure like I've earlier stated, the food is available, affordable, and accessible.
At the meeting where the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi Esan, National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila, among others, recalled that after the confirmation of the appointment of 45 ministers by the Senate, they were sworn in by the President on the 21st of August 2023. Since the swearing in, the ministers had familiarized themselves with their ministries before today's Federal Executive Council meeting. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has barred federal government officials who have no specific roles to play or without any proof of direct participation from attending the United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States. The president's action, according to a statement issued by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajurin Gelali, was part of a broader effort to reduce the cost of governance in Nigeria. President Tinubu, according to Gelali, said directed the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to freeze the processing of visas for all government officials seeking to travel to New York for the UNGA's official schedule of activities. The president also affirmed that henceforth, government officials and government expenditure must reflect the prudence and sacrifice being made by well-meaning Nigerians across the nation. The House of Representatives has vowed to abolish the use of waiver in recruitment exercises in ministries, departments, and agencies of government. The lawmakers described the waiver as an abuse of recruitment processes where nepotism and favoritism take center stage. Rep. Yusuf Gadgi, chairman of ad hoc committee on job racketeering and mismanagement of IPPIS, said this when the Registrar of National Postgraduate Medical College appeared before it in Abuja on Monday. While speaking, Fatia Aragundade said granting a waiver in recruitment exercises by any MDAs is not for the good of the country, and added that the waiver had been severely abused by various MDAs. He said any recruitment that would not follow due process in advertising such on the pages of national dailies would no longer be tolerated. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, has enjoined all stakeholders, including farmers and herders, traditional herder leaders, and others, as a matter of urgency, nip the age-long conflict between farmers and herders in Nigeria in the board. The Speaker made the call at the inauguration of the ad hoc committee on Monday in Abuja. The Speaker, who was represented by the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, lamented the severe consequences, including restriction of farmers from access to farmlands and leading to food price inflation, unemployment, and a high cost of living in the country, amongst others.
It is an issue of national importance and it demands urgency. Any sacrifice made to broker peace in our nation is not a wasted effort, for it is in peace and unity that our progress as a nation will thrive. Your core mandate as a committee, therefore, is to uncover the facts, identify the remote and immediate causes of herder-farmer clashes in Yamautu, Deba, and other regions of this country. You should interrogate the degree of loss of lives and property, and recommend policy and legislative solutions, including but not limited to what we are not able to have ranches, why we are not able to have ranches as in other jurisdictions. In addition, as you carry out this all-important national assignment, I enjoin you to be guided by the values of integrity, values of fairness, values of social justice. You must do justice to all. Fair hearing must be given to all. Nobody should be given preference over the other, because on both sides, they are very important to our nation building and national economic growth.
Chairman of the ad hoc committee, Honorable Aliyu Bakba Misau, assured that the committee will foster improved understanding between farmers and herders. He also urged the federal government to mitigate the challenges faced by the communities affected.
Distinguished stakeholders, I stand before you today on behalf of members of this ad hoc committee to address matters of utmost importance, the issue that resonates deeply with the well-being of our communities and the future of our nation. We are here today not just as representatives of various stakeholders, but concerned individuals unified by a shared commitment. The issue faced by farmers and herders have reached a critical juncture, demanding our immediate attention and collaborative efforts to finding sustainable solution. As chairman of this ad hoc committee, I recognize the urgency and the significance of our task. Our mandate is not just merely to study the long-standing tension between farmers and herders, which has escalated, leading to conflicts over land and resources competition for grazing areas and water resources, which has resulted in violence and loss of lives and property on both sides.
Stakeholders at the event sued for peace and peaceful resolution to address the crisis for the good of the country. The ad hoc committee is to interface with relevant stakeholders on the recurring clashes between farmers and herders neighboring local government areas, including other regions of the country. And now we'll bring you business news. Nigerian Society of Engineers has faulted the reasons put forward by electricity distribution companies to justify bids for tariff increase, saying most figures presented by the discos were far from reality. NSE President Engineer Tasio Gidari Wudio, who spoke to journalists in Abuja, explained that rather than seek for tariff increase, that utilities should reduce their payments to consultants and other operating expenses. Engineer Gidari Wudio noted that the figures presented during public hearings held by Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission last month showed that there was no real justification for tariff increase. In all the presentations by the discos, none of them came with verifiable evidence of their contracted feeder supply availability index to warrant for or justify the feeder's upgrade and or customer reclassification proposed. NSE therefore urged NET to ensure that licensees are all allowed prudent and justifiable cost escalation as a pass-through cost only. Licensees should be made to look inwards and reduce, should be made to look inwards and reduce their expenses on operational line items such as payment for technical partners, payment for consultants, payment for vending services, billing and collections, and over-bloated payroll, payment for concession services that the staff can provide, and heavy management and board expenses. There are indications that commercial banks and merchant banks are increasing depending on the Central Bank of Nigeria for liquidity, as their borrowing from the Apex Bank has intensified in the last 8 months of 2023. According to CBN data, between January and June this year, commercial banks and merchant banks borrowed 10.25 trillion Naira from the CBN via the SLF window, an increase of 138% year-on-year from 4.3 trillion Naira borrowed during the corresponding period of H1 2022. The findings reveal that aside from August 2023 ending this week, commercial banks and merchant banks borrowed a total of 12.46 trillion Naira from the CBN during the first 8 months of this year. According to the findings, banks during the first 8 months of 2023 accessed the SLF window against the backdrop of CBN's tightening monetary policy stance. About 88.2% of working-age Nigerians lack salary-paying jobs. According to data from the National Bureau of Statistics, show that only about 11.8% of working-age Nigerians were engaged in wage employment in the first quarter of 2023. Wage employment includes any salaried or paid job under contracts written or not to another person, organization or enterprise in both formal and informal economies. The NBS also disclosed that there was a decrease of 1.6 percentage points in the percentage for wage employment from 13.4% in fourth quarters of 2022 to 11.8% in the first quarter of 2023. However, the NBS did not provide a value for the total number of working-age Nigerians, unlike in its previous reports. And here is the international tidbit for tonight. French President Emmanuel Macron says the France ambassador to Niger Republic is still in the coup-hit Sahel country despite an ultimatum from the new army leaders to leave his post. During a major foreign policy speech to ambassadors gathered in Paris, Macron confirmed that French envoy Sylvain Ite was listening in from Niger's capital Niamey despite being given a 48-hour deadline to leave the country last Friday. He said France and its diplomats have faced particularly difficult situations in some countries in recent months, from Sudan, where France has been exemplary, to Niger at this very moment. I said, I applaud your colleague and your colleagues who are listening from the post in Niger. President Mohamed Bazoum was toppled on July 26 and has been detained along with his family at the presidential palace in a coup that has been condemned by France and most of Niger's neighbors. On Friday, Niger's foreign ministry announced that French ambassador Ite had 48 hours to leave, saying he has refused to meet with the new rulers and citing French government actions that were contrary to the interests of Niger. Macron insisted that France would not change its position in condemning the coup and offering support to Bazoum, stressing that he had been democratically elected and was being courageous by refusing to resign. Meanwhile, female students will no longer be allowed to wear the loose-fitting abaya dress favored by some Muslim women. The move comes almost 20 years after France banned headscarves from the state schools. According to media reports, children in French state schools will no longer be allowed to wear the abaya, a long, loose-fitting dress worn by some Muslim women. The French education minister announced the ban ahead of the school term starting at the start of September. The abaya is usually defined as loose overgarments, essentially a robe-like dress frequently worn by women in parts of the Arabian Peninsula, most of the Middle East, and sometimes in North Africa. Late last year, former Education Minister Pap Ndiaye identified the abaya as a garment that can take on a possible religious character, even if it is not in an explicitly religious symbol. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he is keen to hold national elections even amid the ongoing Russian invasion, but financial support would be needed from the United States or the European Union. Zelensky said although it would be very difficult to stage elections, noting that one prerequisite would be financial support for the process from the US and the EU. However, the main problem he noted for legitimate elections is how to ensure that soldiers are able to vote. Zelensky also said it would be necessary to ensure that the millions of Ukrainian refugees who have fled to safety throughout Europe would be able to participate. Earlier, during the visit to the Kiev Republican U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham demanded the Ukraine hold elections not later than 2024 in spite of the war. A federal judge has set a date of March 4, 2024 for Donald Trump's election subversion conspiracy trial, placing one of the biggest criminal cases in American history at peak election season. The date is the day before Super Tuesday, when more than a dozen states vote the Republican primary contest to pick the party's candidate for the 2024 election, with Trump the firm favorite to secure the nomination. Special counsel Jack Smith had asked for the trial of the 45th U.S. president to begin on January 2nd, while Trump's attorneys countered with a proposed date of April 2026, 17 months after the election. The decision could have a pivotal impact on Trump's hopes of recapturing the White House. Trump and 18 co-defendants also face racketeering charges in Georgia over their efforts to allegedly overturn the 2020 election results in the southern state. The judge presiding over the Georgia case has not yet set a firm date for that trial to begin. Tajikistan presidency says at least 13 people were killed after heavy rains lashed central Tajikistan, the latest natural disaster to hit the mountainous Central Asia country. The deaths occurred in areas just south and east of the capital, Dushanbe, where storms had caused mudslides, falling rocks and landslide in around a dozen districts. Office of President Inomali Ramon, in a brief statement, said risk of further landslides remain high. Tajikistan, the poorest of ex-Soviet nations in Central Asia, is vulnerable to natural catastrophes. In February, dozens of avalanches as well as landslides and rockfalls struck Upper Badakhshan, an autonomous region in the south bordering Afghanistan, China, and Kyrgyzstan that is surrounded by the Pamir Mountains. And here is entertainment news for tonight. Nigerian singer Joseph Akinfewan Donus, popularly called Joe Boy, has tackled his colleague Damini Ogulu, popularly known as Burna Boy, over his substance statements. Burna Boy stated in an interview that Afrobeat artists make music without substance. While reacting to this, Joe Boy, when asked about his take on Burna Boy's statement, said, "Every Afrobeat artist has substance." Joe Boy stated that as long as a group of people can connect to what you've created, that is substance, even though some substance is whack. Nigerian Official Selection Committee for the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences has called on Nigerian filmmakers to support their feature films for consideration in the International Feature Film category of the 96th Annual Academy Awards. The portal, according to the committee, is open for submission from August 28, 2023 to September 15, 2023 on the NOSC.org. Newly appointed chairperson of NOSC, Stephanie Linus, said that the 96 Oscars presents another opportunity to honor exceptional Nigerian storytellers and talent on the global stage. The 96 Oscars will take place on Sunday, March 10, 2024. The show will air live in more than 200 territories worldwide, from the Dolby Theatre at Ovation Hollywood, Los Angeles, California, United States. The NOSC is officially recognized by the AMPAs and will choose one film as the country's official submission for the IFF award. And here now is the ATN Sports news for tonight. Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and other European clubs have dominated the new World Clubs ranking by Football Database. According to the Football Ranking website on Monday, the soccer clubs ranking was updated after matches played on August 27, 2023. Findings revealed that out of the 2,875 clubs in the ranking, Manchester City sat at number 1 position with 286 points. Bayern Munich as second with 950 points, and Real Madrid as the third with 1,942 points. Others are Victor Osimhen's Napoli sat in the 4th position with 1,924 points, and Inter Milan followed with 1,917 points. Liverpool amassed 1,900 points at number 6, Arsenal with 1,871 points at number 7, FC Porto sat at number 8 with 1,869 points, Barcelona at number 9 with 1,865 points, and Atletico Madrid with 1,850 points at number 10. Meanwhile, Newcastle and Manchester United maintained 16th and 17th with 1,819 and 1,811 points respectively. Mother of the President, Angelis Bejar, has now begun a hunger strike in protest of the mass criticism of her son's behavior. Spanish news agency confirmed these developments earlier today, as the woman has locked herself up in a church at Montreal in southern Spain and has vowed to continue the hunger strike indefinitely. According to her, the inhuman and bloody hands on her son is something he does not deserve. Record that Louis Ribale while embracing Jenny Hermosa in the heat of the World Cup victory, grabbed her to himself and planted a kiss on her lips. The forward afterward confirmed that it was not something she liked. However, there was a pile of pressure on the Spanish FA boss, which eventually led to FIFA suspending him provisionally on Saturday. Bayern Munich goalkeeper Manuel Neuer has returned to training Monday for the first time since breaking his lower right leg in December. Neuer was forced to sit out much of last season and the start of the current campaign after the serious injury. The Bundesliga club, in a statement, said he has now taken the next step on the comeback trail, hailing Neuer's session with his fellow goalkeepers as good news. On Monday, Bayern also presented their new goalkeeper, Daniel Perez, who has signed a 5-year deal. Perez joins from Maccabi Tel Aviv, becoming Bayern's first Israeli player. Speaking at the press conference on Monday, Perez underlined that he would seek to challenge Neuer and Seven Ulreich for the #1 shirt. And that's the size of the global news for tonight. But before we go, here is another look at the major stories. Residents invade loot palliative warehouse in Bayelsa State. Police arrest cultists and recover arms in Delta State. President Tinubu tasked ministers on hard work, dedication. NSE kicks as discourse move to hike electricity tariff. U.S. judge sets March 4 for historic Trump trial. Joe Boy tackles Bonoboy over controversial statement. Manuel Neuer returns to training with Bayern Munich. I'm Vivian Douglas. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media pages on X, we're Atlantic TV Net, on Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic TV Net, Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathway to progress. Have a good night.